so I suppose I'll be. You want to sit? You can stand. That's your thing. Okay. Alrighty. So first, on behalf of my family, I'd like to welcome all of you and thank you for your support through this difficult time. Your presence here means the world to us, and we are so grateful for each and every one of you for being here. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Sarah. I'm the second oldest granddaughter of Mary. We are here this afternoon to pay our last respects and bid a sad but fond farewell to Mary and our Gaga, but also to honor and pay tribute to her life, in our own way express our love and admiration for her. We have all been deeply hurt by Gaga's death, and though she was taken from the heart of her family and friends far too early, we will try, in the short time we have here this afternoon, to make this occasion a celebration of her life and to express our thanks for having known her. I'd like to begin by telling a story to explain why I'm standing here instead of a proper minister. My Gaga was a worrier. If any of you know, she worried when an ambulance went by. She would call when it rained. She would be freaking out right now. And she would even fester over if we weren't eating enough. For some reason, she wouldn't worry if we ate too much.
That wasn't a problem.
It was an issue for us. Recently, though, one of her worries for me pertained to my social media posts. If you don't follow me on Facebook or Instagram, I often post things that are spiritual, some songs that mean something or pertain to my life in sort of ways, or verses. And recently she's been, every time I post a verse or a picture with water, she's like, Sarah, what's going on? What's that scripture about? Are you okay? You know, she's freaking out, like something's wrong with me. And so I would say, don't worry, Gogs, I'm fine. It's just a Bible verse. I like it. I'm okay, I promise. Today I was asked to share a verse or two in memory of Gaga. But I also feel it's important to use these to encourage her friends and family who are here with us today. When sharing these scriptures, I can't promise her that I'm okay, because my heart hurts in ways that I can't put into words. But the scriptures and promises that it holds to me are my hope and encouragement for the days to come and the years to come. And I know she'd be happy with that. So, Ecclesiastes 3:1-8 says that there's a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to scatter stones and a time to gather them, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to search and a time to give up, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to mend
Yada yada.
and a time to tear, and a time to be silent and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, and a time for war and a time for peace. It's my hope that we take some time to remember, to laugh, to love one another today and the days to come. This is what Gaga would want, not for us to weep or to mourn, but to rejoice in the fact that her life was so beautiful and so full. My Gaga had so many attributes that many of her children and grandchildren hope to have acquired from the years we spent with her. She was poised, radiant, and truly a sunshine in all of our lives. She was an artist with unbelievable capabilities. She would try to fix any painting she could get her hands on. Some of them didn't turn out very well. It was only every now and then that she'd need help with fixing an umbrella or a human hand. But her abilities with the paintbrush astounded me, really. As many of you would agree, her knack for decorating was something to be in awe of. Before little Mary, my sister's wedding, we had a little argument over a piece of lace to put on the hammock for Mary's wedding. I said, Gaga, that is going to be the tackiest thing I've ever seen in my life. Why are you doing this? No, it's not. It's perfect. Trust me. And so Now I look at the pictures, and it's one of my favorite pictures from the wedding. And of course I told her it was perfect, Gaga, and she said, I know, I told you so. And then she would just move on. She didn't gloat about anything. For long.
Well,
Our Gaga loved so well. She gave her whole heart to everyone, and that is definitely reflected in the amount of people who are here today. She taught me how to love without any reservations and how to give with my whole heart. And for that, I am so grateful. Life will never be the same without the cuddles, phone calls, and overloaded questions, but she will still hold our hearts. We will think of her, talk about her, laugh with her, and honor her in the future. She wouldn't want it any other way, because she had to be in the middle of it all, and will continue to be. I know Gaga wasn't the most religious person, but I always respected where she stood, and she respected where I stood with my relationship with the Lord. So I'd like to close out my piece of this service by sharing a well-known prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. Living one day at a time, enjoying one moment at a time, accepting the hardships as the pathway to peace, taking, as he did, the sinful world, as it is, not as I would have it. Trusting that he will make all things right if I surrender to his will, that I may be reasonably happy in this life and supremely happy with him forever in the next. Amen. Amen. So I'd like to invite my MOF to come and say a few words before opening up the floor to anyone else who has anything to say, fond memories they'd like to share. And if you do, when he's finished, if you'd like to share, you can stand where you are or come up here and say your words. And then we will continue the service. Okay?
I can sympathize with Sarah when she's talking about the celebration of life and rejoicing at the same time as we're trying to choke all of us. And it is not easy. I have been through a lot of people passing away in my life, starting with my grandparents and then my parents, then Mary's parents, then a sister-in-law and a brother-in-law, and then last week, or the week before last, my sister in Denmark. And all of it was hard, but none of it was as hard as this. Throughout my life, I have been speaking a lot, publicly and small, closer gatherings, and I've always wondered why some people would choke when they spoke about something emotional. And then this morning, when I was sweeping or mopping the bathroom floor, actually it was a kitchen floor. The bathroom floor was much later. It was a kitchen floor. I started giving some thought to what I might want to say this afternoon, and I felt some little chokes coming up and said to myself, I hope that doesn't happen when I'm speaking, because mixing up a choke with my Danish accent and rain on the tent would really make it very difficult for you to follow. I understand when Sarah is and the other grandchildren are so choked up, and also our children, because they knew Mary all their lives since they were born. I only knew her for 57 years. And when I go back to when I first met Mary, when she came to Denmark, she was pretty, vivacious, full of charm, and unpretentious. And in fact, acted in a way that not totally fit the picture that the Europeans had of Americans, because she was not very typical of anything.
No.
In some respects, she was more French than she was American in her spirit and how she did things.
Yeah.
But anyway, everybody over there just fell for her, including myself. And it's kind of odd when you think of Mary having all these wonderful qualities, many of them conspicuous and others were underneath the surface, that she would fall for a dry stick like me. And over the years, I've heard through the grapevines when people have asked the same question. So I once raised it to Mary and said that some people wonder. And Gaga, I would say, so do I. When she saw I was not satisfied with that response, she said, she tried to qualify and said that I was more charming back then. That helped a little bit. Yeah, but it was true. The thing is that Mary grew throughout her life. She grew and became a bigger person, but she remained the same. She was still the young, curious person with an outlook and embracing everything. So in many respects, she stayed the same, but I evolved from being a youthful dry stick to a grumpy old dry stick. And you can understand when people are that different, that not everything always runs smoothly. And if I try to tell you that our 57 years of marriage was a dance of roses and bliss, you probably wouldn't believe me. But there were moments where this was true, but then there were other moments where there was constant friction, because it's not that we looked that differently in life, but our process was different. But in spite of the often turbulence and the ripples on the surface, beneath it there was a bond. And that bond remained throughout the years. It was founded in a set of values. We always share values in many small things, but also in the big things. We were pretty much always in accord about the children and the grandchildren. Our process was different. Gaga did hers with open arms and a big heart, and I was with my stick. But we try to go the same way. When I talk about a set of values, it's interesting, that although we rarely discuss politics, we always ended up voting for the same person. We noticed that here a few weeks ago when we filled our absentee ballots, and Gaga said, "Who did you vote for?" And I told her and said, "Gee, I voted for him too." And we hadn't discussed it. We instinctively just thought the same way about so many things. We rarely talked about religion. I've had hundreds of letters of correspondence with you about religion and politics, right? Yeah. With Mary, I don't think we ever really talked about it. I think we both felt that God should be in your heart and in your deeds, not on your money, and not in monuments and all. But Mary disliked anything superficial and anything that was hypocritical. She was incorruptible. That's why when you discuss things of religion with her, she was behind you, right? Mm-hmm. She was behind you. apart from the values, of course, there was a lot of affection and what's that ill word you always use?
Love. He
I
doesn't
couldn't
use
hear.
it.
I couldn't hear you.
Love.
Louder.
I'll say it for you. It's love.
Okay. I guess that's what it was. While I still have the podium, I need to read something before I get to stop because I got an email from my brother. My brother and Mary were very, very close, and he was totally different from me. Yeah. He was like Mary, outgoing, vivacious, and full of life, and not at all a dry stick, right?
No.
And my brother writes, "Dear sweet warm family, today when you gather for a Gaga commemoration gala," someone has referred to it as that, "I have asked Uffe to read you a few lines I've written. The thoughts of the entire Danish family will today go not only to Mary, but to each of you who are near to her. She will leave an immense void which cannot be filled, but I know the strength of a warm family, and I know you will do your best. To me, she was always Mary, as opposed to Gaga. She was always Mary. She came to Denmark when she was 20, and a few months and Breyer was 15. Of course I fell in love with this charming, beautiful American girl in her Grease dresses. He meant from the musical Grease. You know, the way they looked when they did the movie. Not that her dresses were greasy, they were not. Everybody did. All my parents' friends, even my grandfather in his 70s. Uffe was hard-working, so Breyer naturally became the young, shy companion for Mary. Though my English was not always too good, as when I suggested we went to see the Garden of Enemies, meaning the zoo. He wanted to say animals, and he said enemies, the Garden of Enemies. It was an inside joke between them. On the way back from the long walk, Mary got tired of her high heels and walked in her bare feet. Unusual in Denmark in 1959, but extremely charming. I also helped her fetching and scraping off painting of the two bedside tables she had found for practically nothing in an old, lousy antique shop. We worked and sweated in the summer heat of the loft where Uffe and Mary had their little nest. The two small pieces of furniture Uffe and Mary have always had by their bedside. Later, when Mary and Uffe lived in Niveau and in Birkerød, these are small Danish towns outside Copenhagen, with baby Stephen, she would phone and ask me to take my motor scooter to come visit right away. Always long phone calls, and in the middle she would put down the receiver to go get her next salem and an ashtray. To me, Mary all her life remained that young, charming girl. And when she used to sit on the porch at Gordon Road talking about this and that, then she really still was that ever young 20-year-old charming American girl. On March 10th, she wrote me a long email including the sentence, which more than anything pictures my Mary. I quote, "I want us young again and back on the porch with beer till all hours of the night."
Here you go.
I can see all this stuff.
Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for being here. I'm Julie. You don't know me. I'm Mary's daughter, and I'm not as eloquent as my dad and my daughter, but this is my best for the moment. My mom was bigger than life. I'm not sure who coined that phrase, but it's interesting, but not surprising, that it's used by everyone who knew her when they described her. Not just her close friends and family, but everyone. She never, ever met a stranger. She made a connection with every human who crossed her path. I mean, that's one of the reasons that my dad put her on cold calls when we were doing PCI years ago, because she was able to befriend and connect on a meaningful level with anybody, even if it wasn't all on the positive side, Jim Rogers. She at least made an indelible impression on everybody who crossed her path. And ultimately, everyone loved her. Charisma was something she didn't possess unknowingly. She used it and she was confident in it. I'm envious of that. We were talking about that in the kitchen earlier. She didn't apologize about thinking she was just fabulous, and she was. She loved being a head turner and the life of the party. Much to my shy children's chagrin, she enjoyed getting the entire room at the pedicure place engaged together in a rip-roaring and laughing party. By the time we'd leave, she'd know the names of everybody's grandchildren, and they'd know all about one or all of her chickadees, all of our trials and tribulations or celebrations. My brother Richard always joked with my mom about after meeting some stranger, he'd always say, "Hey Mom, did you tell her about Julie's back surgery?"
It's going to make its way in.
Yeah, her response was, "Yeah, is that all?" So she was an open book. She made many lasting friendships and connections with people who would otherwise have been perfect strangers. I believe Diane, you met her in a waiting room at a doctor's office, right? Yeah, so, and long life friend. So it's the way she was. She was also comforting. People found her comforting. She was a magnet, and she was fun. She had no filter. People were just drawn to her honesty. And she cared more than what was really healthy for anybody. She cared so much. And the good thing is that she died without any of us really wondering at all how she felt about us. There was never a question, not one of us, from the littlest, with the boo-boo bunny, up to the top. We all knew how she felt. Right, Taylor? The boo-boo bunny? Her love was evident, and she wore it on her sleeve. My mom and I had a really crazy, close relationship. I'm sure she parented me early in my days. I don't remember it because we've always been just best friends and partners, just kind of in crime, really, a little Thelma and Louise. And she loved those adventures with me. I'm sure she had something with everybody, but we had so much fun together, and she lived for it. That was what she wanted more than anything, was to just be with one of her chickadees and enjoy that time. She lived more in the present than anybody I know, other than worrying about who was at the ambulance that was down the street. Like she'd hear an ambulance, she'd go, "Where's Richard?" So that was a present, but otherwise, so present. She loved to party in a big event, and any regular day that we could just spend together, she made it into an event. She was eternally happy. She was always happy. I don't possess that. I envy that. I mean, I'd like to be happy, but she just was. She looked forward to the things that excited her so much that she just planned the dickens out of them. She packed at least a week ahead of time for a weekend getaway. And she overpacked to accommodate every possible fun potential turn of events. Every single game in the game closet came with us, to the beach. And more food than anybody would ever eat went with us, And on the last night of any event, she'd scramble to make sure every single bite was eaten and every game was played, and she was depressed about the end of it and thinking about the next one. So that was Mom, and her excitement was palpable and contagious. She loved life so much, and she loved her family more than anybody I know. I mean, all of us, family gathering here this week over this tragedy. Not so much a tragedy, really, because it's the way she would have wanted to go. It's a tragedy for us. We hate it. But, man, she would have loved it. She would have loved everybody being here, laughing and being, you know, rubbing her brow. Yeah, she would have loved every minute. And you can't help let that slip in, you know, when you're grieving, that, you know, this is okay. It's okay. We all feel her here with us, but we missed her actually being here. You know, that's the grief of it. I could go on and just babble for hours. I mean, I've got stories and stories and descriptions of who she was and what she represented and what she meant to me. But bigger than life is really the thing. Even when she was alive, her spirit was always around me. Always. I felt her with me now, and I felt her with me then, when I wasn't with her. She's in everything I see. She's in everything I touch and feel. She always will be. She and I called each other sunshine. For whatever reason, she thought I was hers. Don't know why. But there's no question why she was mine. She was pure joy, and it was contagious. And she was light and bright and sparkly, and she was the center of my universe.
Richard, Steve, do you want
Well, I'm going to say a few words.
I'm Stephen, the bad kid, you know, the one that lives away, doesn't call his mother very much. No, she did most of the calling. She always made the connection. She was always the glue that held all of us crazy family together, and we are quite crazy, all of us. My heart is empty. It's never going to be the same. But she's always going to be with all of us. She's everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
She was the most genuine, creative, intelligent in the most dumb way possible. She had so much giving inside of her for an absolute stranger. She just cared. And I hope that some of that DNA, some of that has rubbed off on me and correspondingly to my children. Because if I take 1% of her essence, then I could possibly be a good.
Rain, Gaga, rain!
Bring it down, old lady. Anything for drama. I'm going to try to project. I'm little Mary, her oldest granddaughter. I've thought so much about what to say here today, but the truth is there's just no way to fit Gaga into any number of words. My sweet cousin Laura, who couldn't be here today, wrote to our family when she heard the news and said, everything she touched became beautiful. And I believe that Laura captured her essence in one sentence in the best way that anybody possibly could. Whether it was a holiday table, or an everyday outfit, or an encounter with a stranger at the nail salon, every experience with my dogs was absolutely one for the record books.
She had pizzazz and flair like no one else I've ever known, and she didn't shy away from pushing it over the top. I want so badly to share with you all my favorite memories with her, but we did write in the paper that this would be over at 8 p.m., so I just haven't got the time. Gaga was my grandmother, but our relationship was more like that of friends. When I was born, I was given her name, and from that moment, we were connected at the heart. She called me her heart, and beyond a shadow of a doubt, she was mine. I will always laugh when I remember yanking her out of a bathtub in Paris, fighting with the French at the base of the Eiffel Tower. I'll always walk through a person's front door with a hearty yoo-hoo! And a white cheddar cheese that will never pass through my lips without late night giggles and cuddles in her big cozy cloud of a bed in the back of my mind. As I told her on my wedding day, she taught me to stay young, to love unconditionally, and to make art out of everything. She will be with me and guide me for the rest of my days as I start my own family and hopefully have my own Mary Foshee a couple generations down the line. I will always do things Gaga's way, and to that, and to me, it's the only way to live. There are so many words and so little time, but my Gaga knows every piece of my heart. Who loves you, Gogs? I do, always.
Does anyone else have a story or anything they'd like to share with us? You want to stand so you don't have to get in?
Good. So I'm Mary's niece, Aagesen, and when my sister and I were kids, like young kids, she came into town and she took us to the good Kmart. Hang with me, it's a good story.
Yeah.
So, it was the good Kmart, sort of at Roswell Road and 285, and we went on a little shopping spree, and she bought me these fabulous earrings. Because I was like 3 or 4, but they were gold and pink butterflies, and I just thought they were the most delicate thing I had ever seen, and I loved them. And really one of the best gifts I ever got. And then about 20 years later, 5 miles up the road, I had an apartment. It was not the good Kmart anymore, by the way. But I got another present from her, and just totally unexpected. I opened my mailbox one day and there was an envelope, and inside of it is an oil painting that she did of my dog, that she had copied off of my Christmas card. And it was not a flattering picture of the dog, but it was a very accurate picture of the dog. And she nailed it. And if you were to ask me what's the one thing I would rescue from my burning house, that's the one. So
The dog.
no, the dog's gone.
Oh,
Now I have the oil painting. The painting. Matt's on his own. I'll get the painting.
You mean where it's not raining?
Yeah, where it's around. We have a couple of
Oh my God, you got the band back together.
I know, well, same rough money.
Don't get too excited. No, no.
Studying about that good old way, and we shall get the starry crown. Good Lord, show me the way. Oh, sisters, let's go down, come on down. Oh, sisters, let's go down in the river to pray. As I went down in the river to pray, studying about that good old way, and who shall wear the robe and crown? Good Lord, show me the way. Oh, mothers, let's go down. Come on down, don't you want to go down? Come on, mothers, let's go down in the river to pray.
and I'll fly away, oh glory.
I'll fly away
In the morning.
when I die. Hallelujah, by and by. I'll fly away. that celestial shore. I'll fly away. I'll fly away, oh glory. I'll fly away in the morning when I die. Hallelujah, by and by. I'll fly away. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. You can't take my sunshine away.
Okay. Well, thank you all for coming. We're going to go inside and continue laughing and talking and sharing memories and enjoy our Gaga Gala. So, welcome indoors. Come on in. And wipe your feet off. Or mop for free.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's her tag.
Hey, how are you? Oh,